Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide for Duryodhana. He's a story-locked 4-star berserker introduced in Paper Moon, and he's your consolation prize on both Bhima and Durga's banners. So if you have your eye on either of those, you should expect to see him often. Should you praise him or should you dread him? Let's find out. Duryodhana's first skill is Charisma of Relatable Vice, a 3-turn party-wide attack and crit damage buff, which is a nice bit of help for your team. And its short 5-turn cooldown means your uptime is going to be quite high, especially if you get the cooldown reduction of pen skill once that comes out. But there's a catch. Duryodhana is a bit of a gambler, you see, and by pushing this button, you roll the dice. For the turn you activate this, a random frontliner gets a star absorption buff. A 5,000% star absorption buff. If Duryodhana gets this, amazing. Berserkers have the worst base absorption stats in the game, and they need 4-digit buffs to actually wrestle stars away from their teammates. But the inverse also applies. If this lands on one of those teammates, oh boy. Next up is Lati Kella. It's a 3-turn arts and crit damage buff with a 15 star dump. You'll want to level this up as it's your primary steroid. And onto the last of Duryodhana's standard skills, we have Child of Evil Omens. This is a package of targeted star absorption, stars per turn, 10% personal charge per turn, and a debuff resist down against all enemies. Couple of things to unpack here. First of all, the star absorption is 5k, which means you can force your team's star income onto Duryodhana with relative ease. Secondly, even if Relatable Vice ends up on the wrong person, you can make it so you're mostly competing with that servant and not your third party member too. So you still gain a net benefit. The charge per turn effect is a flat 10% at all levels, so you don't need to pour resources into this skill right away. You'll want to eventually, but for purely farming purposes, you can get away with focusing on the other two. Duryodhana's Noble Phantasm is Jai Kaurava, an AoE art attack. Its overcharge is a preemptive 3-turn rainbow card type resist down. However, each type is chance-based and rolled separately. You have a 60% chance at overcharge 1 and 100% at overcharge 5. The debuff resist effect on Child of Evil Omens should make the odds slightly better, but the point is that for all practical purposes, you can't rely on this proccing. Yet more gambling. The upside is that Duryodhana is an AoE arts berserker, and a pretty good one considering he's a 4-star. Even with its arch resist down whiffing, he does the second highest damage of all 4-star AoE berserkers. The only one who does better in raw NP damage is Frankenstein's monster, and she actively sabotages herself, so in practical terms, Duryodhana is the best. He can function quite well in the meat grinding role, mowing down 3-3x enemy formations. His recurring 10% charge helps out quite a bit on this front, but a notable weakness is that he lacks any kind of instant battery, so your margin for error is quite small. Because of this, you may want to take precautions like unlocking his starting charge of pen skill, using the Summer Street Mystic code, or running a third charger with one of these swap Mystic codes. Thanks to his crit buffs, you have a backup plan even if you fail a damage check. It also means he can put up a fight against mid-boss enemies. These qualities would be perfect for the early to mid-game. You run your own Duryodhana in Jufu with a borrowed Castoria, for instance, until you can develop depth in your roster. And the need for Paper Moon materials could be offset by using Pure Prisms. It would be a valid strategy for a general pool servant. But Duryodhana isn't a general pool servant. He's story-locked, meaning you can't get him in the wild. You either need to finish Paper Moon and fish in the story gacha, which I wouldn't recommend, or wait for him to appear on a rotating banner. If you plan to roll for Bhima or Durga, no problem. In 2026, he'll also show up on a Saber Medusa banner. And when the class banners start rolling around, he also appears alongside Sen no Rikyu. So pick your poison. If you do plan to roll for him, you should prepare to load him out. Black Rail is your bread and butter for damage, Ocean Flyer is a convenient alternative, and you should stack him up with crit damage codes to further your plan B. If you're feeling spicy, or if you pull too many copies of him while hunting Kali, you can even draft him into an esports role. A 5,000% targetable star absorption buff is quite an asset, and while someone like Ranmaru gains this effect at a lower level, her buff only lasts for a single turn. Duryodhana's on the other hand persists for 3, so you can have him power up a Berserker or Avenger of your choosing, so they benefit from any star income. This is the greatest benefit to servants who have some way of obtaining stars but no way of manipulating them, like Vlad III or Mao Nobunaga. In this capacity, you should equip Duryodhana with either his Bond CE, which has a 30 star dump, or a taunt CE like Outrage or Guda Guda Poster Girl. If you're doing this on a spare copy of Duryodhana, then you'll want to level him up only to the point where he gets his 3rd skill and then stop. No extra levels and no health foes. Then his Berserker defensive class disadvantage should take care of the rest. Cards on the table. I don't really like Duryodhana. He's good in a vacuum, but there's so many circumstances that recommend against fishing for him specifically. His greatest value is for early and mid-game players, but he's a pretty major detour for that group, who have many more pressing banners this year. And it's not like you can luck into him. He's story-locked. It's a real shame. His core kit has its ups and downs, but I think the RNG element is made up for by his party utility and long effect durations relative to his cooldowns. And having the ability to loop as a 4-star isn't anything to sneeze at either. He's not really a servant intended for endgame players. He's an AoE arts berserker that can follow up with some nice crits. Good, yes, but anyone who's gotten this far is likely to have a meat grinder that they either already have or intend to invest in. Thanks for watching, lads. Are you fishing in any of Duryodhana's banners? If so, good luck. For my part, I'm going to be hunting for a second Lilith this Sunday, so if you want to catch that in action, stop by at twitch.tv/Finotaisen where I stream every week, 3 PM Pacific time. On Tuesday the 20th, I'll be doing a birthday special too. A bit of gacha, a bit of nostalgia, and a bit of chaos. You won't want to miss it.